March 8, 2014, during the annexation of Crimea, you were addressing the Federation Council, and you said, Kyiv is the mother of all Russian cities. What did you mean?
Here I haven't made up anything. Historically, this is how it was said. Originally, the Russian state was formed from several centers. The first capital, according to history, was in Novgorod in the northwest. Later, the federal status moved to the city of Veliki Novgorod, and then it moved to Kyiv. This was Ancient Rus, and since then, Kyiv has been known as the mother of all Russian cities. Later, historical events unfolded in such a way that the ancient Russian state split into two parts. One part began developing with Moscow as its center, while another part fell under other countries. For instance, the part with Kyiv, along with some other lands, these parts first formed a state with Lithuania, subsequently merged with Poland, forming the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Thus, this part of the ancient Russian state ended up in Poland, and by the 17th century, it sought to return back to Russia.
Right. President, sir, the fact that, you're mentioning the history, and it brings me to what I did when the conflict was underway. I had traveled to Donetsk, I traveled to Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and most of the people over there are Russian speaking. They speak Russian language. They were very disappointed with Kyiv that it was banned in eastern Ukraine. But they were also a little shocked that how is Putin doing this to us? We are his people. A lot of women I spoke to were in shock. So what do you have to say to people in eastern Ukraine who actually have families in Russia, who on a daily basis move from Ukraine to Russia? So what do you have to say to them?
The answer is quite straightforward. These individuals presumably resided in those parts of Ukraine, specifically in the areas of the Luhansk and Donetsk region, that remained under the control of the Kyiv authorities at the time. Meanwhile, that part of the Lugansk or Donetsk region outside their control was being subjected to intense military action by the Kyiv authorities. We were consequently forced to extend support to those areas that had declared independence. That is the first point. Secondly, we provided people with an opportunity to express their will in an open referendum. Those who believed it was in their interest to join Russia voted accordingly. Those who did not were free to leave unhindered for other parts of the Ukrainian state. We have never placed any obstacles in the way of that choice.
So what do you make of President Zelensky? He was promised NATO. The European Union promised him EU. Nothing really happened. Was NATO ever on the table for Ukraine?
When this gentleman came to power, he declared that he would pursue peace at all costs, using every means possible, without sparing even his career. But now we see things differently. He follows the same pattern as his predecessors, putting the interests of a narrow nationalist group, particularly radical nationalists, ahead of those of the people. Essentially, he is addressing their concerns rather than those of the nation. This regime's mindset truly resembles a neo-Nazi regime, because extreme nationalism and neo-Nazism are almost indistinguishable concepts. Today, undeniably, military action dominates their approach. However, they haven't achieved much success here either. I have already said before that what matters most for them is realizing that the best way to resolve the problems is through peaceful negotiations. And we attempted to negotiate with them back in 2022. What exactly they plan to do remains to be asked from them directly.
Они там собираются делать, на самом деле, это надо у них спросить.
That'll be interesting to see what they have to say on that and how this peace process goes forward.